We've got an island. We're comparing the ratio of tourists to inhabitants between 2 years, and we're given some facts about how those relationships between the numbers changed between those 2 years. I think with any of these ratio problems, it's good to get away from ratios as quickly as you can and get into fractions and look at the totals involved. Let's see if that works for this question. Okay, let's look what they tell us about the winter. They've told us that the ratio of natives to tourists was 7-1. So in terms of fractions, the natives were 7/8 of the inhabitants and the tourists were 1/8. And I think immediately, whatever they're going to tell us about the summer, this is going to be easier to deal with. Now let's do the same for the summer. The ratio here was 155 to 69, in the favour again of the natives. So if you add 155 to 69, you get 224. So this would be 155 over 224, and this will be 69 over 224. So we've done the sort of the foundation work of just converting those ratios into fractions. Ultimately, we've got to find the number of tourists that were on the island in the winter. Now, there are several ways of tackling this. I'm going to suggest that the unknown that we consider is the total number on the island in the winter, and I'm going to call that x. So that means the number of natives in the winter will be 7/8 of x, and the number of tourists would be 1/8 of x. Now we've got to look at these two facts here. The number of natives on the island decreased by 100 from the winter to the summer. Okay, well, we can cope with that now because we now know the number of natives, and the number of tourists increased by 220 from the winter to the summer. So let's have a look at the people on the island in the summer. Right, deal with the natives first. The natives decreased by 100. Okay, so what was our total in the winter? Well, it was 7/8 of x, so we've got 7/8 of x minus 100. And we've got to add the tourists. And what are we told about the tourists? The tourists on the island increased by 220. Okay, so the number of tourists was 1/8 x plus now 220. So this is equal to x plus 120. So I can say that the tourists in the summer, these are the tourists in the summer, must be equal to the proportion they occupy of the total, which is 69 over 224 of the total of tourists on the island in the summer, which is x plus 120. Well, we've got an equation in x, and it's therefore solvable. I know this is cheating a bit, but if you do the maths, you find out that x was equal to 1,000. And x, remember, is the total number of inhabitants on the island in the winter, but we want the total number of tourists. And with the total number of tourists will be 1/8 of this number. So tourists in the winter will be given by 1,000 divided by 8, which is equal to 125. And that will be your answer.